Hello and welcome to the Optimal IELTS YouTube channel. I'm Jamie and this video's topic is cities, which is a common topic for the IELTS speaking exam. Let's begin.
Where are you from?
Okay, well, I'm from a very small village in the northeast of England. It's charming in its own kind of unique way, and it's very small, but the area is steeped in history. We have a lot of Viking and Roman and Saxon, and it's a lot of ancient places quite around from where I live, but it is quite small. So, tell me, have you ever lived in a city before?
Yeah, I have. Well, actually, I come from a nondescript provincial town, but for the last kind of 8 or 9 years, I've been living in the capital city, and the life is so different. I mean, it's bustling, it's congested, and it's less peaceful than, in small towns. What is your favorite road or street in your town?
Well, I come from a very small village, so there aren't really many choices when it comes to exciting roads and streets. But if you leave my village and you head towards the coast, which is only a short distance away, there's a beautiful meandering country road that takes you over some very exciting views. On the right-hand side, you have an ancient building, and on the left-hand side, you have one of the best fish and chip shops in the country. Why do people go to other cities?
I suppose there are several factors to consider here in truth. The most obvious reason is for touristic purposes. People want to just immerse themselves in new cultures, and they find these picture-perfect places with iconic landmarks, and they discover something new for themselves. But I suggest there can be other factors, and maybe for medical purposes, since megapolises as a rule offer more amenities, and so that's why people can move for some time to bigger cities. Why are cities with long histories popular?
Wow, that's a good question. I think probably the most likely answer is because they have so many different things to do. There's quite a lot of variables. So if you want to go to a night spot and find some exciting music and places to go to, you can do that. Or if you wanted to go and see some touristy places, you could do that. Or of course, if you wanted to go and see some historical locations, churches, buildings, places where famous people have gone to. And also the cities that have long histories have lots of museums and galleries and parks. So I think the main reason is you can do anything you like in a city with a long history.
Number 1. The northernmost point to a city is about as far to the top of a needle on a compass as you are going to get. You really are on the outer limits of the city. Number 2. Looks over the bay is a coastal city, which usually will have some stunning vistas for you to goggle at. Number 3. It's hidden in the mountains. Well, this is unlikely to be a city unless it's the lost city of El Dorado, but could easily be a beautiful mountain village nestled on the side of a hill. Number 4. On the outskirts. Well, another way to describe this locale is the suburbs, and if you live in the leafy suburbs, then probably you are going to be residing in a rather lovely area. Number 5. In the downtown. Well, this is the heart of any city, and will also sometimes be called the city centre, usually where there is lots going on, lots of hustle and bustle. Number 6. In the hinterland usually refers to somewhere out of the way, remote, and probably with only a few dwellings. It's unlikely to be a city.
Description of a city: a typical metropolis. This means metropolitan, usually a big city often a capital city. A fairly small nondescript town. This doesn't mean boring, it just means it's a generic kind of place with similar kinds of shops and residential homes. A melting pot. This is cosmopolitan, which means many cultures all mixing together. This is usually a very big city or some type of cultural hub. A financial hub. This is where you'll find the money people. This is often the main stock market and the big private banks. The conurbations of this mega city, where the residential and business areas spread out to many kilometers. Sometimes this is even one or two big cities kind of combined together.
Dear subscribers, write in the comments, how would you describe the city of Zurich in Switzerland?
And now, let's have a look at some positive adjectives that you can use to describe the city. Ancient or steeped in history. It means the city is really old and is completely surrounded or involved in history. Bustling. It means the city is full of activity. Vibrant stands for energetic and exciting. You can describe a city as charming, which will mean that the city is pleasant and attractive. Picture perfect, which means perfect in appearance. Affluent. Usually we use this word to describe the city, which is rich in money or owning a lot of things. Touristy. A lot of tourists flock to this city. Humongous. This is extremely large. And compact. It means everything is pretty close and you can reach any place quite easily. Apart from mentioning positive aspects of living in the city, you can as well find something negative. So let's have a look at the words that you can use when you're dissatisfied with some aspects of the city. Filthy, which means very dirty. Packed, populous, densely populated. It means there are so many people living in the city. The city is rammed with tourists. It means that there are too many tourists visiting the area. Congested or gridlocked. So the traffic is dense and it is bumper to bumper. The city may as well be run down or shanty, which means it is in a poor condition and neglected. The last but not least, the city could be plagued by violent crime, so it's no longer safe to live in this area. There are also some neutral words that you can use to describe the city, like colonial. It is related to colonialism. Provincial. So that's the city which is located outside the capital city. Medieval. Well, that is related to the Middle Ages. And industrial. That is the city that has a lot of factories. When you describe a city, try to be a little bit more specific. So try to explain why the city stands out. So you can use the phrase second to none. So the city I live in is second to none since, and explain why. So this phrase means that the city is better than any other city in the area. Well, you can use the phrase rely mainly on tourism. So in such a way, you will show the main source of income of this city. Hence, tourists tend to flock to this city, or tourists are drawn by something. So you can mention one site that attracts a lot of people, and you can use the phrase a big pull factor. So something, maybe the Eiffel Tower, is a big pull factor here. So this is something that attracts people to a place or an activity. One of the best hotspots in the city. So the meaning is the same. This is a popular and exciting place. A hidden gem. This is also a very interesting place, but the place not many people know about. And the last one, iconic landmarks. These are the places that are easily recognized.
Mix and match game. Look at the photos and match them with the types of cities. So, Cartagena is colonial, Mumbai is sprawling, Tokyo, populous, Paris, touristy, New York, bustling, and Manchester, industrial.
What do you enjoy most about living in a city?
I suppose there are lots of merits of living in the city. I mean, the most essential one is probably a better standard of living. Kind of you have effortless access to amenities, and you can hop on the bus and get wherever you need to. And there are glossy shopping malls and there are lots of places. And so overall, like, you're never bored stiff in the city. Would you like to live in a city in the future?
No, I don't think I would. Most cities now, it's too much hustle and bustle. There's a concrete jungle with cities, and also so many cities now just keep spreading into the suburbs. It's like an urban sprawl. I prefer a little bit more peace and quiet and a little bit more space, to live my life. Though, of course, there are some advantages of living in a city. There are so many different things that you can do. There is lots of choices. But I think overall, I would prefer to live somewhere that's a little bit more peaceful and a little bit less with loud noises. Tell me, which city would you like to live in the future?
Maybe it's pie in the sky answer, but I would prefer to settle down somewhere in Spain, so in a city like Barcelona. I just adore these Gothic style buildings and cobble streets. I think it provides you with peace and quiet, though, I mean, we may argue and say that it's too touristy. What do you not like about your hometown?
Oh wow, that's kind of a difficult question actually. I suppose what's least appealing about my hometown is it's very small. It's tiny, in fact. There's not many things that you can do in my hometown. Also, property is a bit of a problem. There's a real scarcity of housing. And so a knock-on effect to that means that any houses or flats that are for sale, the prices have skyrocketed recently. So yeah, I guess the size and the lack of houses is probably the biggest problem about my hometown.
There are many positives to living in a city. The most obvious is the wider number of opportunities of lifestyle choice. This is a reflection of the highest standard of living that usually equates to city life. Of course, there are also other favourable aspects, such as there is an effortless access to amenities, such as public transport and shopping. You can hop on a bus or hail a taxi and head to your favourite glossy shopping mall, or just sit and sip a drink at a pavement coffee shop, which, to cope with the larger number of people residing, visiting and working in a city, usually results in longer hours.
And now let's have a look at some hypothetical disadvantages that a city might have. In English, there is a term urban jungle that describes the city that is unpleasant to live in. So maybe there are lots of modern buildings but few parks and trees. Urban sprawl. It's a large area of land covered with buildings, especially the ones that have been built gradually over a period of time so that the city expands. To get stuck in a rat race, it means for a long time you compete with other people for power, for money, and you feel completely drained. If the pace of life in the city is too busy, you can say hectic pace of life. The alienated city dweller. So that's a person that has no connection with other people around. Well, it's a common thing in big cities where people just feel alienated. The prices in big cities are too steep, so they are skyrocketing. So it means they're too high. And it's quite difficult to find an apartment that is not breaking the bank. It means that the price for this apartment is affordable. Usually there is deficiency in space. It means there is not enough space. And what is more, you can hear the incessant roar of trucks, buses, and other public transport, so noise pollution prevents you from living peacefully and quietly in this city. Dear subscribers, now it's time to practice. You can see different sentences about advantages and disadvantages of living in a city. Try to insert the word which is missing. You will find a tiny picture in each sentence which will give you a hint which word or phrase to choose. And you will see all the answers at the end of our video.
So, do most people in your country live in cities?
Well, I don't think so, because I come from an agricultural country, so people are involved in farming and they mostly lean towards living somewhere in the suburbs. But I suppose there is a tendency nowadays of people moving to bigger cities, especially those who are in their prime, and they want to get better job opportunities. And there are definitely some city slickers who, have never been in the countryside. Do you prefer the city or the countryside?
That's a good question. I think overall I just prefer living in the city than the countryside, because the pace of life in the countryside tends to be a lot more sedate. It's more a placid way of living, and also there is not that many things that you can do, so perhaps there's a potential to become bored stiff a little bit too easily. But yeah, I suppose just about the city over the countryside.
Rustic charm. This means that this is an outdated and less organised pattern to life. The peace and quiet. Well, I believe everyone enjoys to get away from the hustle and bustle of urban life. A tranquil retreat. The countryside, with its lack of street traffic and smaller populations, is a cool place to get away for a short break. A village at the back of beyond. Well, this locale usually has only one road in and one road out. A secluded area. This could be a room inside a house or a building far away from mainstream life. Maybe in a field or nestled on the side of a mountain. Growing up in a rural backwater. You are someone who spent their childhood and probably adolescence in a tiny hamlet. On the periphery, somewhere close to a busier area, but still pretty quiet and with a sedate pace to life. Lack of resources. Well, there are less amenities such as shops or Places such as police stations or clinics tend to be understaffed because of the lack of numbers of people.
So tell me, how have cities changed in recent years?
Well, off the top of my head, I would say that they have become more touristy. Visitors flock to big cities to stay on the beaten track, to visit some famous sites. But one more change that is quite noticeable is that due to urban sprawl and due to the desire to get better job opportunities, people move into the cities, so they are becoming now more and more populous. The downside of it is that the prices are in truth nightmarish, and hardly can you afford property in the center of the city. Why do places with historical sites develop a tourism industry more actively?
Well, I think it's quite simple really, that people want to go and visit, they want to see things with their own eyes, they want to experience it firsthand, they also want to place themselves in these historical sites, learn about their own history and their own culture. And also, I think it slightly depends on what kind of historic site. Maybe it's a medieval site, so it could be a famous castle, or going further back into antiquity, there might be an ancient Roman road or some type of ruin that just inspires them and makes them want to learn about where everything started.
Well, let's talk about city changes, or the changes that have taken place in your city. The new buildings have sprung up. It means just that new buildings have been built. The extensive alterations. So that's the phrase that denotes the major changes that took place in your city. An explosive growth in something. It means the sudden and rapid growth in and completed. A radical overhaul of public transportation system. This is the act of renovation. So by this phrase you mean that public transportation system has been completely renovated to foster urban regeneration. So it means maybe the government does everything in order to renew and improve the city. Lag far behind or deteriorate. It means that the city is making very slow progress. The growing disparity between the rich and the poor. It means basically that your city lacks equality between different layers of society. A bit of an eyesore. Maybe a new monument has been built and it looks ugly. So if it is an ugly site in a public place, then you call it an eyesore. An influx of citizens into cities. It means the movement of a huge number of people at the same time to a different city. The exodus out of the war-torn city. So that's when a lot of people arrive to another place. Now on the screen you can see a picture. Can you recognize this city? If yes, write in the comments below what city it is and try to write some adjectives that you would use to describe it. If you are familiar with this city, you can also mention what changes have taken place in this city in the last 10 years. Oh well, in truth, I have so many things on my bucket list yet to do, but Given half a chance, I would go to San Remo, even for a brief visit. It's a charming, picture-perfect coastal city in the westernmost part of Italy. It's definitely a visual feast. The only hitch is that it's a stone's throw from Monaco, so the trip would be really no longer than 2 days, because I assume the prices are just skyrocketing. The reason I'd pick San Remo is not because of cobble streets or quaint buildings, or the fact that it exudes elegance and, of course, luxury. The mainstream lies in the fact that somehow renowned personalities ended up settling down there. I take deep interest in Alfred Nobel, the Swedish scientist, who basically spent his last 5 years in a beautiful villa overlooking the Mediterranean in San Remo. He drew his inspiration from these majestic promenades and stunning scenery. Furthermore, this place was the place of miraculous healing for other scientists. So in truth, I would be on cloud 9, to step back in history and go for a leisurely stroll there. So fingers crossed, I will convince my significant other to escape from the daily grind and rejuvenate our minds and bodies there. Dear subscribers, drop in the comments below a few words about your city, whether it is worth visiting or not, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you in our next video!